So, Andy, you're a former Marine. How could you tell us a little bit about yourself, or how did you end up here?
I was in the U.S. Marine Corps for 31 years. I was in Marine Special Operations for 10 years. And bottom line is, I retired 3 years ago. I came out here in first week in March to be a journalist, as a matter of fact. Not as good a journalist as you are, but nevertheless, I came out as a freelance journalist during the siege of Kyiv, basically. And I wrote a handful of articles, but I started to feel that what I was doing was trivial. You remember how that was, right? They were handing out AK-47s on the street to anyone between the age of 18 and 60. And a friend of mine in the Ukrainian military reached out to me and he said, "Hey Andy, we need help training these guys. Within a few days, they have to go and fight the Russians. None of them have fired a weapon before. All they have is their courage and their determination to defend their city." And, no one can say no to a plea like that. I had with me, because I'd run into them, 2 or 3 other Marines, surprisingly, all retired. And we put together a plan. We brought some more trainers in from the United States very quickly, like in a couple of days. And we started training the Territorial Defense guys in Kyiv. Remember, as the Russians are closing on the city, and these guys, we'd put them through a 5-day training course. They would get in their vehicles and they would go and fight the Russians. So it was a very difficult time. By the time that the Russians were pushed back, remember the beginning of April, we were also, by the way, up in Bucha. Right after the Russians left, we saw the massacres there, and it made us very determined to stay. And by then we had some donor funds coming in, and my colleagues said, "Hey, we don't want to go home. Let's stay here and do what we can for the Ukrainian."
The Mozart Group, how did you come up with this name?
Actually, it wasn't me who came up with it. It's a brilliant name. One of my guys came up with it, and by the time someone said to me, "Hey boss, what do you think? We'll call ourselves the Mozart Group," everyone was already calling us the Mozart Group. So I was ambivalent, because we're not the Wagner Group. You couldn't find an organization further away from the Wagner Group, right? We're all professional military. That separates us from the Wagner Group right there. We don't carry guns. We're not fighting. We are training Ukrainian soldiers here in Donbass, and we're rescuing civilians. Period. That's what we do.